Come on, Game here. Day 7 of 11 Days of Remembrance. Chapter 7 Death Before Dishonor. It is almost midnight and the ground begins to shake as kites take off from the Ganston Lodge airbase in England. The aircrew members not taking part in the night operations lie in their bunks, counting the planes as they take off, listening to the rumble and roar of the Merlins. These men these men slightly wish their comrades and friends a safe journey, steeling themselves for the possibility of loss. Sleep will be light and fateful at the base, and tensions will be eased only when the planes return in the morning, revealing how many have vanished. One lost heavy bomber means 7 friends and brothers are gone or missing. It's April 27th, 1944, and there is a bomber stream of 120 Halifaxes and 16 Lancasters flying in the night operation. The target for these bombers is the Marshalling Yard at Morzine, Belgium. The intent of the operation is to disrupt the movement of military equipment to the German forces along the coast of France in preparations for the D-Day invasion. The mission is especially to encounter only light resistance, a few small anti-aircraft guns, but no searchlights. The commanding officer and Manchester, Manchester bomber for the pathfinder mission is Flight Lieutenant Ronald John Lane, born in Victoria, British Columbia. Edward Teddy Wayman, Bucklandship, also from Victoria, is the squadron leader. Deputy Minister Bomber and next in line for CO. Both men are flying with number Hornet 5 Squadron, based at Garden Lodge. This is to be Teddy's 38th operation. Lane and Teddy are both approaching the target and the Lancaster bombers, closing in on the drop zone. The two pilots and see the markings left by the only pathers. That raid is just beginning, and as the first bombers drop their loads, the flares and markings are approached as planned. The kite flies and releases more target markers from 4,500 feet, rendering the drop site for the next wave of bombers. The raid is on in the earliest soon after, and Teddy's plane dives in to drop additional flares, keeping the target well marked for the main forces. About 20 minutes later, their job are done. Teddy aircraft heads home as ordered, while Lane's crew stays a little longer to take care of late arriving bombers. That's when things start going wrong. The enemy fighters arrive on the scene earlier than anticipated and manage to penetrate the bomber stream, shooting from below and within in the smoke and flak. The Allied fighters protecting the bombers have a tough time, burning off enemy the falling bombs, and the close proximity to their own Allied aircraft limit them. The bombers follow the bombers away from the target along the route home. The Germans are numerous in their attack, and the bombers continue to battle for the airspace and safe passage. Ammunition slices through the air. The bombers are in almost as much danger from stray friendly fire as they are from the enemy guns. 24 minutes after the raid begins, Lane watches the bomber after bomber is attacked and shot down by night fighters who are working from inside the stream with great success. Seeing the struggling in the air, Lane drops his kite as low to the ground as possible in order to continue the intercept radar of enemy aircraft and hopefully save Allied planes. The anxiety among the aircrew is thick as each pair of eyes combs the skies. The men are stricken by the loss but helpless to do anything more. Then straight ahead, Lane watches the ninth kite and the stream it's hit dead on, blinded by an ME-109. All stare horribly and helpless as the plane blows up and target marks explode from the Pathfinder bomber like fireworks at a picnic. Then the realization hits Lenny that this was Teddy's plane. Lane swallows hard at the bile rising from his gut and tries to concentrate on what he has to do. No one could have survived that explosion. The aircrew struggling through the trying to do their own survival, but Lane is having difficulty remaining ditched. He finds Teddy's loss harder to deal with than others, because the two had bombed over not have home routes. It's a quiet drum a hands it up. Their friends return count the landings at 3 a.m. and within vain when the number is short. 15 bombers are unaccounted for. Every price for what was supposed to be a very straightforward mission. 15 bombers equal 105 men killed or missing in action. The next day, surviving aircrews do their best to ignore the empty chairs in the mess hall. Bunk detail cleaned out the personal lockers of the missing servicemen, and the dreadnought letters are composed and sent off by war-weary officers. All know that empty spaces will soon be filled with new recruits. While saddened grief is a luxury that can't be ignited at the time, the preparations for D-Day must take priority. Teddy Blankshow leaves the target area as soon as he receives the order from Commander Lane. There is confusion everywhere, smoke, bombers, and the jumping and bumping of flak. The absence of searchlight is a blessing, but it soon became clear that it's under a more immediate threat. Bombers are being shot down from inside the main stream. The Allied escort is having difficulty defending the bombers due to the enemy fighters' proximity to friendly aircraft. Teddy hesitates for a moment and tries to come up with a plan to help with the defense of the bomber. Stream like he decides to drop altitude to confuse the radar of the fighters, giving the enemy a false reading on the middle of the stream. He hopes he moves well, also drawing some of the Jerry's lower so that the Allied escorts can get clear shots at them. Almost immediately after dropping altitude, his rear gunner begins to yell, removing instructions into the intercom. As Teddy starts to respond, he hears a loud thump and a terrible roar. A force rips him out of the cockpit and throws him clear of his kite, which is now 10,000 feet in the air. Still conscious, Teddy manages to pull the ripcord of his parachute, and while fighter activity continues all around him, he drifts unnoticed to the ground and lands behind enemy lines. He is the sole survivor of his crew, and except for a few minor cuts and bruises, he is uninjured. Upon landing, Teddy takes his Air Force issue knife, pencil, and compass from the pouch of his overalls. Before chipping them off, he swallows his caffeine pills to ward off exhaustion, and use the knife to cut away the upper form of his faded boots, burying his suit and any unnecessary flight equipment. He pulls off the rubber end of his pencil and extracts a map of the target area which likely escape routes marked. As he travels away from the drop site, he works out his location by remembering the last reports of his navigator and tracks decision to the compass and stairs. Teddy runs to put as much distance between himself and the crash site as possible, hoping in case his location isn't close enough. Over the next 2 days, Teddy manages to meet people who have connections with the Belgian resistance. The underground plans to smuggle him back to England, arranging for a guy to take him over France and then into Spain. But at the last moment, Teddy refuses to go. He sees the effort the resistance is making on behalf of Allied forces and feels that with D-Day coming, he would have more available in Europe. The resistance welcomes Teddy and issues him false Belgian national papers. Over the next few months, he helps fight the Germans from behind the lines, attacking railroads, blowing up bridges, and defending other escaped airmen. During one of the escaped situations, Teddy is picked up by the German Gestapo and taken to St. Gilles prison in Brussels. The Germans do not know that Teddy is an RCAF, and they hold him as a Belgian national who is part of the resistance. While the interrogation center, Teddy taps a Morse code signal on the string pipes in his cell, revealing his identity to other prisoners at the facility. Eventually, the information is relayed and is passed on to England and to his family in Canada. After being interrogated at St. Kilda, Teddy is transferred to Hamburg, where he is held as a Belgian national and forced to work in the shipyards. While laboring at the shipyards, he manages to escape his captors and makes his way back to Belgium to rejoin the underground. However, on August 11, 1944, the Gestapo catches Teddy again. This time around, the Germans discover that he is a member of the RCAF, and while he should be sent to a POW camp, like most prisoners belonging to the Allied forces, he is sent instead to Nürnberg concentration camp near Hamburg. Life in the concentration camp is beyond difficult. Teddy is following inmates suffering through starvation, hard labor, and physical abuse, serious attentions, and medical care. In November 1944, Teddy becomes very ill. The lack of food, water, and medical attention as the decline of his health between Christmas and New Year's. It is discovered that Teddy has developed tuberculosis. He dies shortly after the diagnosis. There is an unofficial story that Teddy Blankenship succumbed to heart failure after receiving a lethal injection at Nuremberg, but the story has never been submitted. It is affirmed that his body was cremated at the concentration camp on January 5, 1945, with a underbody of rubber bodies. But again, this assumption cannot be confirmed with clarity. What is known for sure, however, it is the squadron leader, Edward Wyman Bedcott, Canadian with the RCAF, died a hero. That's the end of chapter 7 and day 7. I will read chapter 8 tomorrow, and I dedicate this to those who fought so I could be free during World War II, and I dedicate this to the Ukrainians that are fighting right now. May you find peace.